Back. Henry's gone, even though he tried to come in and take over today. We're going to do a little Kahoot to start with so that I can see what you know and what you don't know from the last 2 weeks. All right. Always such clever names. How do you do it? I see someone's seen my old lectures. All right, one more minute and then we'll start the Kahoot. Yeah, let's start. Goodbye, Henry. Well, I mean, he's still here. He hasn't gone anywhere. He's just not lecturing. All right. Woohoo! Oh, such quiet. Welcome, Sasha's back. Good luck seeing that, by the way. I hope you can. It's either you didn't have enough time or you just took a wild guess. Who took a wild guess? Who just didn't have enough time to read what's going on? So just remember that C goes in order. And if you've done one statement, you're not going to do them all either. So we'll go back to it I feel like it's really blurry online, but we will go back to it afterwards to go through it, or I'll write a post about it on the forum so we don't waste time. All right. Don't worry, they get better from now. Less code on the screen. Oh, I got you. Counter started at 1. Oh, so mean. Oh, it increases by 1 inside that loop. All right. Just want everyone to note how good I am at screenshotting. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Oh, the while inside the while. I felt like Henry just did way too much in those 2 weeks. Just a few more painful questions to go. Okay. All right. Enums are like, oh, okay. I'll try and go through things and rehash things as we go through a new topic today. But luckily that topic allows us to rehash a bit. Well, that was a 50-50 and very much a 50-50. Yep, okay. Okay, last question. Why is the resolution so bad in the online stream? Is it okay? Looks terrible on my thing. Glasses are clean, everything's all right. Not glued to the table. Oh my goodness! What is happening? All right, let's see what is happening. Yay! Okay, who's in the room? Is anyone in the room? Bella? Oh my God, from sitting down? No wonder you're hitting people in the head. It was down the... I would like to see this happen while sitting down. That's not bad. I'm impressed.
Is anybody else?
Oh, no one else. Was Blink in here? It's a rough name with the sunshine and the eye patch. All right, good job, everyone. Okay, so actually, can I get a poll for like how everyone is feeling? Do you feel good about the last 2 weeks? Do you feel that you would like to like rehash a lot, rehash a little? Where's the vibes at? Okay. I trust that they will make that happen for me. Rehash a little. Can we restart? Unfortunately not in a trimester. Okay, so I was planning to rehash a little bit as I go because we're going to be learning about functions today. And everyone always hates functions because they don't see the point to them to start with. And then later they start seeing the point to them. But the best thing about them is they allow a rehash. So hopefully we can rehash a little. I plan to rehash structs and enums tomorrow. So that will hopefully... Also, I don't know why I'm coughing. I'm not sick. I just can't stop coughing for some reason. Okay, someone's cooked, 30%. That's just equally divided in thirds. This is good. Oh, well, I feel cooked as well, so I guess that makes a whole bunch of us. All right. Okay, let's do, okay, who knows, I've forgotten how to do this lecture, that's how, okay, so last week and the week before that you did all the control loop stuff, you did variables, you did just introductions, you did all your setups, and already I can see attendance is starting to fall, so clearly you are all on top of things, hopefully. But today we're going to talk about good style, and style is going to be part of your assignment, and it's going to contribute 20 marks towards your assignment. And my goodness, they're the easiest 20 marks you can get, and yet people just insist on not getting those marks. So please, 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 nice style, and also do as I say, not as I do, because sometimes when you'll see me code, I'll do some awful things in terms of style, because bad habits are very hard to break sometimes, and that's why you want to start good early, and you want to start doing it properly to start with, as opposed to then having to break any bad habits. And then we will talk about functions, which will form part of style as well, but also functions allow us to break down programs, and we'll talk more about it in a second. So someone I saw asked in the chat, when is the assignment going to be out? The first assignment will be out next week, and you will have 2-3 weeks to do it, well, 2.5 to 3 weeks to do it, including the mid-session break, the flex week. It's not called a mid-session break, flex week as well, which will hopefully give you a chance to get through the assignment. Okay, live lecture code. And functions. So far you've heard, I hope, Henry talk about scanf. Did he talk about scanf? Yep. Did he tell you that scanf returns something, that scanf is a function? He called it a function. He talked about printf as well as a function. Did he tell you where those functions live? I heard someone say it. The standard library. So every time you include that stdio, the standard input-output library on top of your C file, you're allowing yourself to use that scanf and printf. So those are called functions, and the point of them is that I can use these basic functions that I don't have to write myself, so I'm just reusing code. Now, did Henry talk about procedures? No? 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 Procedures? No? Okay. Well, procedures are basically functions and they don't return anything, and that will become, I'll show you what it means if it returns something or doesn't return something. There's a bit more to it, but we'll talk more about it. You don't really need to know, the difference will become more clear as you start coding more. Okay, so a function is a way to break down our code into smaller functional bits, hence functions. And each one of those smaller bits will perform some functions that I might be able to reuse anywhere in my code. So it makes it much faster and much easier to not having to rewrite code all the time. It also ensures that my main does not look like it's composed of 100, 200, 300, 400, 1,000 lines of code. It means that it more reads like something that actually tells another person reading it what it can do. So when you write code, you're writing it for another person to read, basically. So you want someone else to be able to read and understand what you've written, and functions make that a lot easier to do. So you can call a function anywhere within your code, and it will do some stuff, and then it will return to where you called it from. And don't worry, I don't really use my slides all that much, so I'm about to go off the slides to code and show what's actually going on. So this is an example of a function, and right now that function has a return type. So the very first thing you see is going to be a return type. So you've learned about ints, floats, chars, and what it means is that at the end here, when I return something, so far you've seen your main return a 0 or a 1, which is an int, and that's why your main is an int main void, because it's returning an int, a 0 or a 1. So you can return any int or any float or any char depending what you want your function to be doing. So when you define a function, first you'll have a return type, then you'll have a name of a function, and you want that name to be symbolic of what that function is actually doing. And then in brackets, you say what it is the function is getting to be able to work with. So far you've seen int main void. What do you think the void means? Yeah. There's no input. It's a void, black hole, nothing's coming in. So you're able to actually also give things. You're actually also able to give things to the main, but we will not do that till about week 5, if at all, if there's time. You will also specify what are the inputs, then the function will do something, it'll return whatever you said that you will return, and then you will just move on with your life and you've got yourself a function. Okay, so we're going to go and do some code writing so that you can actually see what's going on. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to write this as 1 in main, and then we're going to break it down into functions. And that will hopefully allow us to see why do we need to use functions and why, what is their point at all. Okay, so the program that we're going to write is nothing to do with Survivor, because I'm not Henry and I don't watch Survivor. Does anyone else here watch Survivor? No, so it was just a pointless, there we go. You also didn't get his example. You won't get my example either because I watch terrible television. Okay, so we're going to write a program. It's going to take in 2 die rolls, and it will check that the sum of the dice is equal to the target number. And you win if this is the case. So basically, you roll a die, you roll the second die, you calculate the sum, you check if the player won, you print the result, you play around, and you repeat until the user quits or doesn't quit, depending what they're doing. So let's try and do it in code. Okay, so, goodness. Okay, so first things first, what's Henry doing? Yes. Can I? Oh, I sure can. I sure cannot. No, it should be all right. Can you see it? No? Sorry? You know what? It could be sim-linked to a different account. It could still be sim-linked to Henry. Can you just, yeah, message. Anyway, you can, I won't do it, you'll see it as soon as it changes over. I thought we changed it over, but maybe we did not. It was a rough weekend. Okay. So, we have, yes, I'm just SSH on VS Code because not on Tiger VNC. Was Henry using Tiger VNC the whole time? Yeah. Yeah? Oh, well, that's gone. Tiger VNC has too much lag for me right now. My computer does not like it. Okay, so let's do some coding. Okay, so I'm going to actually write, and this is what I usually do. Don't know why I didn't do it today. So we're going to do roll one die, roll the second die, and then sum them up and check whether the sum meets the target number. If it does, you win. Okay, so the first things first. What do you think we need? Which variables do we need in this program? What do you reckon we need? Thank you to that person online. That I told you, you're right. The style guide, I often do not follow it myself. And you will see me writing way too many comments in the code because I expect that someone will go to that code and will need to look at it and learn something from it as opposed to read it for usability. So do not follow how I write comments, especially from the style guide. Okay, so which variables do you reckon we need? We need one die, we need two dice, we need a target number. What do you reckon? We need a sum. Come on, it's Monday morning, let's go. Yep, so I'm going to have, and then what are they going to be? Are they going to be ints? Are they going to be chars? Are they going to be floats? Yep, ints. Okay, so I'll have int die 1, I'll have int die 2, I'll have int sum. Okay, great. So I've got this one, I've got this one, I've got this one. What's this target number? What do you reckon that should be? Ah, amazing. It's going to be a hash define. And why do you think it's going to be a hash define? And this is my chance to see if you understand what a hash define is. Why shouldn't it be an int inside my code? Yeah.
We could have different amount of sided die. So if we wanted a 20-sided die, we could just change that number instead of looking through the code.
We could. That is such a complex. I love that. You clearly play board games. 20-sided dies. Yep, but I love that.
Because it doesn't change.
Yeah, which is exactly, let's go with that because it doesn't change. Okay, hash define, and I'm going to call it target. What should the target be? It's a normal 6-sided die. There's 2 die, so no one say 67, please. 11. Okay, so our target's going to be 11. That makes me, no, I'm not going to tell that story. That's a tangent. Let's not go on tangents. Hey? Up on top for hash defines? No, you don't. Not for hash defines, but very good. And you remember that you can always put a semicolon in and see what it does. And see it complain, and then you can remove it. The best way to learn is to make mistakes and not to be scared to make them as well. Okay, excellent. So here we have our main function, and the function is returning an int. Its name is main, and it's given no inputs. Can you tell me what relevance is the main function to the language C? Do I need to have a main? Do I not need to have a main? Can I call it something else? No, I need a main. And where is the first place that C starts reading? In the main, okay? So I always need to have a main. I can't rename it something else and not have a main. Okay, so now we've got 3 things, and let's do a little lead into the game. Let's do some printf statements, because why not? And let's do, I don't know. Okay, and then let's do a little rule. Okay, so now I'm going to need to ask for what the die is going to be, and I'm going to take an input from the user of what the die roll is. So how do I take input from a user? And sorry I'm asking so many questions, but I'm really trying to see what happened in the last 2 weeks and what everyone knows and what everyone doesn't know. Scanf, excellent. Okay, so first of all I'm going to prompt for it. So I'm going to ask the user, and then I'm going to scan F, spelt properly. Okay, and what will I scan in? Yeah, an integer, which means that what will be my format specifier in there? Yeah, so it's going to be %d because I'm scanning in an integer. And then will I do die1 here? And because I wanted to scan into the variable die1. Ampersand. Did Henry mention why you need an ampersand? That is the most Henry thing I've ever heard explained. That is exactly how he would have said it. And in week 5, you will learn why that is and what those memory shenanigans are. And in fact, that is why we teach the first course in C, so that you get to experience those beautiful memory shenanigans. Okay, excellent. And now we're going to do exactly the same thing for the second die. So going to print out and I'm going to scan into the second one, and it's going to be a %d because I'm still doing an int. Okay, great. What will I do now? So I've got my first die, I've got my second die, now I need to sum them up. So what will be my next line of code to sum them up? Yep, excellent. Sum equal die1 plus die2. So what that will do is it will take the value stored inside die1 and the value stored inside die2. It will add them up, so we'll do the right side first, and then it will assign it to the left side. So it will assign it to the variable on the left. So it will assign it to the variable sum. Okay, excellent. So now I've rolled one die, I've rolled the second die, I've summed them up, and now I want to see if I've actually won the game or not. So now I have to do all the comparison to see whether or not I've actually won the game. So what will I use to see whether my sum is hitting the target? Yep, an if statement. Excellent. And what will I do inside my brackets? Yep. And I'm going to do sum equal target. Why is it 2 equal signs and not just 1 equal sign? Sorry, I didn't hear because multiple. Yeah. So 2 equal signs is when we compare something. 1 equal sign is when we assign something. And we're comparing, which means we're going to have 2 equal signs. Okay, excellent. So we're saying if sum is equal to target, so if whatever the sum is, it's equal to that 11, then we're going to win. So we're going to print out, you win. Oh, I did want to do an emoji in there, but that's just, I don't know if it's too much. Too much? Too much? A little Unicode? Too much. Can't decide. We'll go with too much for now, maybe later. Okay, excellent. So, and how will I say you lose? Yep, okay. Else, I'm going to print out you lose. It's really quite harsh, actually. I should maybe... No, I'm not going to mellow it out. That's it. You lose. Okay, excellent. So we have a program now, and hopefully it's doing something that we want it to do. Let's see what it's doing. Okay, so let's... a successful compilation. Well, that's one way to... Okay, first die roll. What number should we roll? 8. 8. Amazing. What else should we roll next? You can't get it wrong. You just guess the number. So the first thing we're trying is we should win or lose right now. Lose. Okay, great. And we do lose, annoyingly, without a new line. So that's really going to annoy me. I'm so sorry. I've just can't handle it. Thank you. Okay, let's just quickly... Okay, what's the next thing we want to test? If we were testing what's going on and we want to test our code. We've tested where it's taking the else, so we've tested whether it's losing. What do we want to test now? We do want to test negative numbers, even though you can't roll a negative number, and we are not catching negative numbers, so it's just going to take them in. But we can do -4, -6. It's just going to... Wasn't even a slow clap. Okay, so what happened there? Who knows what happened there? Oh, I cannot hear you. It took in a non-character. It did. Yeah, and where did it do that? Yep, that's right. It's not nice, is it? Okay, let's forget. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, we will return to that, okay, because it's a bigger explanation. Let's try and do, for some reason, you just intent on not going down the truth if. Can we just check that it works for a win case for 11? So let's do a 6 and a 5, and that works. What else will you do? What else will I check it with? Anything else? Zeros? Could do it with zeros. Yeah, so it's somewhat working with some issues. But it's working, well enough for us for now. And we will come back to deal with the issues that it's had because they're not as relevant right now. So let's stay on the task because I am a massive tangent person. So if you get me off the tangent, we will never come back. Okay, what I want to do now is, how annoying was that? Constantly having to rerun it again. I mean, obviously, really first world problems if that's annoying to running it over and over again to keep inputting numbers. I want to put that on a loop until I win, to be able to keep guessing until I win. How will I do that? While loop. And where will my while loop go? Which line of code? This should really be a poll because otherwise a few people, yeah.
Before the printf, enter the first die roll.
Yep. So I want a while loop potentially somewhere in here to keep asking for things. Excellent. Okay, great. I'm going to keep asking for things until I win. So I'm going to have a while loop in there and I need to close it somewhere. Let's close it here. And let's... Okay, and this is harder because I don't know what you know about while loops. Hopefully you know a lot about while loops. What should I be checking inside the brackets? Okay, I could do that. While sum is not equal to target, I'm going to be really, really annoying and I want to see how well you know chars. So I'm going to bring in a char now and we're going to ask, we're going to do it, do you want to quit the game? And if you don't, we're going to keep looping. So yes or no. just because I want to see chars. Yay! God, it's a hard crowd today. Okay, let's do a char, and we're going to call it again, and I'm going to initialize it to a Y for yes. We're not going to be doing the language. We're not going to be doing booleans, who have asked online. Okay, and now I'm going to have a while loop, and I'm going to check in here whether that variable is going to be equals to yes. And whilst it's equal to yes, I'm going to run the loop, and as soon as it's equal to anything else, then I will stop running the loop. That means I need to update that variable sometimes. So here I have, and this is what I mean, you're going to see this all the time, is I'm going to write in code, in text comments. Just don't do that for your own code. So here we have declared and initialized a variable to control a while loop with, and yes, it's going to be more than 80 characters. Okay, here I'm going to check that control. And somewhere here I need to update it. Otherwise, what's going to happen if I don't update the control variable? Infinite loop, yeah. So I'm just going to be stuck in that loop forever, never able to exit. And if you do get stuck in an infinite loop in your code, how do you exit it? Control C, yeah. There is a way out. It's amazing. Okay, so where do you think I will ask for something again? Will I ask it up here? Will I ask it outside of this bracket? Where will I do it? Yeah, I'll do it just under here. Okay. And let's ask. And then we're going to take in a new variable. And tell me, what will that variable be? Will it be a char, an int, or a float? A char. And how will I just do my char as a %c, like that? No? What will I do? Yes. So I will want a space here. And why do I want that space? Because I want to be able to swallow up any characters that are new lines or spaces, or any white space characters, right? So that an actual C comes through. Yeah?
Is it good practice to do that for integers and doubles as well? Or is it just for chars?
So it's just for chars, because on the ASCII table, it's a great question. On the ASCII table, you've got, so for ints, they are just numbers, and it's looking for an int, and it doesn't look for the white space, whereas for a char, a white space is a char, which is why it scans it in as well. And we will see it tomorrow, maybe? No, I'm not going to do strings tomorrow. That's wild. The week after that. Yeah, it was a great question. Okay, and then I will put it into my again variable, and I will remember to do the ampersand, which says store it in the address of that variable. So I will pop it in there, and then I will run it. So let's see how it runs, and then we will start to actually talk about functions, which is what this lecture was about. Okay, first step complete, it compiles, and let's try 5, 4, roll again, yes, and then it goes again. And then if I do no, it exits. 6 and 7, the die was obviously rigged. It's a rigged game. Okay, excellent. So the while loop is working. Okay, well, that's all seeming really nice. That's looking quite nice. I've got, what have I got? Well, except for my over-excessive commentary, I've got like 42 lines of code. Kind of feels okay. There is some excessive new lines here. Let me just get rid of that. But it's not like super neat code, is it? It's all right. It's a small program, so it's not too bad. Now imagine that like multiplied by, I don't know, 10. It's not like when you go out to industry, you're writing code and every program you write is 40 lines. In fact, probably no program you write is going to be 40 lines. So what we do for that is we decompose it into functions. And once we break up our big code into functions, we can also use those functions elsewhere. So there are some simple things or simple functions that you would be using all the time. Things like printf, you use that all the time. You wouldn't want to be writing the code for that every single time that you want to printf. Same with scanf, you wouldn't want to be writing the same piece of code for that. So this is why we have functions. We have these commonly used things and we combine them into little bits that make sense, little logical bits of code that make sense, and then we work with them and we call them whenever we need them. So what do we think is the first thing I would like to take out of this code? What would be the first? I mean, you can take anything out. Why don't we take out the introduction? We can't take out the comments. I can't make that into a function. Just a function of code of comments. Should we take out the, let's take out the comment. No, let's not take out the comments. My goodness, you've polluted my mind. This is the first bit of logical, well, logical, it's not really logical, it's just some intro. We will take out into a function. Okay, so what I'll do, just to really make you feel better, I'm going to make those lines of code into a comment. So there's even more comments in this code. And then I'm going to take them out into a function. Okay, so these two things I would like to take into a function. So I would like to have a function to have the printing of the intro. So let's do input. Okay, what am I giving this function? Am I giving it anything? Pardon? No, I'm not giving it anything. So it is a void input. Am I outputting anything? Does this function need to give me back anything? It doesn't need to give me back anything because I'm just printing stuff out onto the terminal. So I don't actually need to get anything back from it. So it's also going to be void. And what should I name this function? Something that makes sense. Intro. Oh, I'm going to go even further. Print intro. Okay, so I'm going to define it. It's a void function because it's not returning anything. Then I'm going to do the name of the function, and the function is getting nothing as well as input. I don't know what I just did. Okay, great. Guess what? You've just done your first function. Well, I did, but you'll do it soon. So that's an exciting function. It doesn't really do anything. It just prints something out. Doesn't even... Okay, first piece of logic moved out. Okay, but now I've got this print intro and I don't have anything here. I need to be able to call that function. So wherever I need to use that function is where I will make a call from, and that's where it will return to as well. So to call a function, just like you would call a person, you name them by their name, and that's exactly what I'm going to do here. I'm going to call the function print intro, and I'm going to give it this set of brackets because I'm going to tell it what I'm giving it, and I'm giving it nothing because it doesn't expect me to give it anything. But this is telling us that it is a function. Same as printf, you've got the brackets, scanf, you've got the brackets. So you're surrounding it and then giving it something, and in this case it's nothing. So I've called my function from line 21 of code, and that means that it will, after it finishes running, it will come back and it will continue from this point on in the code as well. Okay, excellent. So now I have this print intro. Let's see if it works. Who thinks it's going to be absolutely fabulous? Everything is going to work beautifully. It's going to be magic. It's going to print things out. Hands up, who thinks it's going to work? Oh, go on then. One person thinks it's going to work. Who's going to think it's not going to work? Is anyone just doing it because I'm making it out like it's not going to work? Or does anyone know why it's not going to work? I know that you know why it's not going to work. Obviously, I'm giving away that it's not going to work. No, it's outside the main. It is underneath the main, yeah. So what does C do? How does C read code?
Oh, it should be the top of the main function.
So you could do that. So the way C reads code, from the top to the bottom, does not skip things. So when it's going to start reading, it's going to go int main, and it's going to start going in here. It's going to get to here. It's going to go print intro. What the heck is that? I don't know what that is. I don't have any definition of that. It's got no awareness that on line 49 you have actually defined it. So there are two ways to work with it. One way, which we don't advise you to do in the style guide, but you can put it on top of the main so it comes first. So it's gone through it before it got to the main. It knows it's there. It's going to read it. But now imagine if you've got, I don't know, 100 functions. Right? So your main is now, I don't know, down 1,000 lines of code. That's not very readable, is it? Just what? Your main might be long as well, or you might have, well, also you will have decomposition in files as well, not just functions. But we're just going functional decomposition today. So what we're going to do is we're going to do this thing called prototypes. Okay, we're going to let C know that this function is coming and it's going to be coming on later. It does exist. And all a prototype is it goes above the main, and what it is just the definition of the function. So the top line of the function, which says the return type, the name of the function, and the inputs. And what that does is it tells C that there is going to be something that is later on down, and it's going to be an amazing function. Okay, so now maybe, just maybe, I'm actually going to comment it out for a second so that you can see what the error is if you don't have the prototype, just so that you know how to deal with it when you're doing your assignment. So if I compile it, what it will say here is error, call to undeclared function print intro. And it will tell you that it doesn't know it. And then DCC will give you a little bit more information. You're calling a function that does not, and it doesn't recognize it as a function because it doesn't exist. And it tells you the reason why. You might have misspelt it. That's not what happened. You might have forgot to hash include. Also not the reason. And you might need to add a prototype, which is the reason for us, is that we do not have a prototype. So then if I have this prototype here, and I try to compile it again, hopefully I do it with saving, so then it doesn't, then it will be fine and it will not complain, and it will let me continue on, and you'll notice that the function worked because it printed out these two lines, and that was the function, and then it just returned and it kept doing whatever else that main had in it. Okay, so we pulled out one thing. Now let's pull out more things, okay? So that was just a little, what else can we pull out next? So we've pulled out this first bit of logical code, and we've called it print intro. What can we do now?
Pull the entire while loop out.
We could pull the entire while loop out. Let's go simpler, just because we will end up doing that at the very end, but just, yep. Yep. We could pull this out. Yep. What else can we pull out? Should we pull out the sum? Because that's an easy one to pull out. It's just one line of code. Let's do that one first, then we'll do the comparison, then we'll do the rest of it. So let's do this as the next thing that we pull out. Okay, so we're going to pull out this sum. Okay, what will be the input to this function? Die1 and Die2. And what types are those two things? Yep, so I'm going to give it an int and an int. What is going to be the output of this function? It's the sum, and what type is it? An int. Okay, great. So I'm going to come out. And what should be the name of this function? Yeah, sorry.
Do you write all your code out and then put it in functions, or you just put it in functions?
No. So when you start out, you might need to do that, where you write a giant chunk of code and then you're like, actually, this can go into a function and this can go into a function. As you keep going, you will just write functions yourself, because the kind of code you'll write will be like, okay, I'm going to, like, let's say I've got this, I would have written int main void, I want to print the intro, I want to add them, I want to compare them, and that will give me my function names and what the functions are doing. So to start with, don't worry about writing giant chunks, then pulling things out. But as you kind of go along, try and think about what functions you can do just by writing the name of what you need to do. Another great question. I just want to see this fast shot take place. Well, to those sitting around. Good luck to those sitting around. Okay, excellent. So we've got an int and an int, and what will the name of the function be? Sum, yeah, or sum of dice, yep. Okay, and because I'm lazy, it's just going to be sum. Okay, so I'm going to be returning an int. The output is int. So that's my first int that went here. The name of the function will be sum, and I'm going to give it to two things. I haven't said what it is, an int. Okay, next question. Can I do this now? No, and why can I not do this? Sum is not declared. Very good. Should I declare sum and add an extra line of code, or can I do it faster? I can do it faster. Yes, everyone's lazy in this room. This is perfect. How do I do it faster? I just return it. Because the output of die1 plus die2 is an int. So if I say return and I just return their sum, all it's doing is returning an int, which is exactly what I want. So I can shortcut it. Instead of saying int sum, and then sum is equal to die1 plus die2, and then return sum. So this over here is the same thing as doing something like this. Okay, int sum is equal to die1 plus die2, return sum. So instead of using 3 lines, I've used 1 line, plus the 3 lines of comments that you probably will not have in your code. Okay, next question. These variables here, int die1 and int die2, are they the same things as the ones over here, int die1 and int die2? Who thinks yes? Hands up. They're called the same thing. I feel like I ask really leading questions. Who says no? Hands up. Okay, now who wants to tell me why not? Go on, well, one of you, I don't know. There's a whole crowd of you, and it's...
Local variables inside the function.
Yep, they are indeed. So what happens is this int die1 and die2 inside the main only lives inside the main, which means that when we haven't made a call to this function yet, but when we call our function, which is called sum, and when this was a terrible, I should have done this first. So over here, I'm going to call that function, and I'm going to give it die1 and die2. So when they go into this function, the values that these two possess are just copied into these two values. So even though they're called the same thing, they're not the same variable. They're variables that live only inside the function that they appear in and inside the brackets that they appear in. So if I were to declare a variable inside this else, it will die upon exiting out of this curly bracket. And that's why we often declare our variables up here, so that they're available to the whole main function. But more on this later, and the errors time, 12:04. Okay, what a great place to take a, well, I don't even know if it is a great place, but it's 12:04. So let's have a 5-minute break, and then we will come back in 5 minutes, and we will keep going. Okay. All right, what did we get up to? We done that. We called some fantastic function with only one thing. Okay, let's do the next thing. What will we decompose next? Yeah.
For the sum line, do we still have to assign the function to variables?
For the sum line, such a great, yep, you will. And then we're going to see another issue with naming, because this is called sum. We've got a variable here called sum. It's a nightmare of epic proportions to read this as a human. Okay, so what is happening, and I think I'm going to have to delete some of these comments because it's getting hard to read. Okay, I'm deleting some of the comments. Bit by bit. Okay, so let's see what happens here if we try to run this, because we haven't run this yet, so we haven't seen the issue. You are on top of things. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put in a prototype for the sum so that it knows what is coming. And then we're going to run it. So let me save it. And what have we got? Yep. Okay, so the first thing is what I said, we have a nightmare there. And why is it a nightmare? The error is type int is not a function pointer. Sum is the name of a variable, but you're trying to call it as a function. So that's causing us an issue because I've got something over here. I've declared it as a variable, but now I'm calling it over here as a function. So obviously, you know, that's confusing for everyone involved, human and computer alike. So why don't we make this sum dice? And we can change the name here, sum dice, and here as well. Okay, so let's try it again. Okay, so the next thing that's happening is the error is variable sum is uninitialized when used here. Something is happening. You're using the variable sum before it has been assigned a value. Okay, so who knows what this means? Who knows what the issue is? What do you reckon? So I've summed some dice here. I've gone down here. I've returned their sum. And then I've come here and I've compared it. What's happening? Yeah.
You haven't replaced the original variable of sum.
Yeah, so what's happening is I've returned it over here. So over here I've added the two dice and I've returned it to here, but there is nowhere to save it. There is nowhere to add that value to that I'm returning. So it just gone. So what I need to be doing is I need to say, okay, I'm going to run this. So remember in C, the right side runs first and then it gets assigned to the left. So when I get down here, I'm going to run this function, sum dice, with die1 and die2. And whatever is returned from this, hopefully an int, because over here it gets assigned to an int, will be stored in this integer variable here, into sum. Okay, so let's try this again now that we've stored the actual output. Okay, so now we're compiling. And now if we run it to see, okay, 5, 6, we win. And everything seems to be working. Again, 4, 4, you lose. So it's all working and it's doing the sums. So things are going well. Okay, it's storing things, it's moving things. Okay, I'm ready to move out one more piece. What should we move out now? Someone before suggested that we move out our logic over here where we actually compare the sum to the target. So we can move that out next and see what's going on. Okay, so if I were to move that out to a function, okay, so what do we think will be the input into this function? Yeah, sum, so it's going to be an int. I'm going to give it an int. And do I need to give it the target or not? I don't know where that came from, someone said. Do I need to give it the target? No, because the target is outside the main. It's a constant hash defined. It's available to all of my code and all of my functions across the board. It's not just in main, it's everywhere. So I don't need to give it anything for the target. At compile time, it will basically find and replace every instance of target with whatever the number is. Okay, and what will be the output of this function? I need to be able to say like a true or false, I suppose, something if I've won, something if I've lost. So what's the easiest way to do it? Not a Boolean. Without using Booleans. Yeah, 0 or 1. Yep, so it will be an int. Okay, so I will output an int, and I'm going to say, okay, if true, then it's 1. If false, then it's 0. So the output is int. And the name of the function, check, more. The sum I wanted to demonstrate something, but now I'm going to be picky. Yeah, win check. So something that is more descriptive of what that function is doing. Okay. Okay, let's call it that. So the return type is an int because my output is an int. And then I will do the function name, so win check, and I'm going to give it an int sum. Okay, and now let's see how we can fix this function. Okay, so I've given it the sum, so will this work if I say, okay, if sum compared to target, then I will print out you win, else I will print out you lose. Does that work for us or not? Nope. What do we want to do? Because we're returning an int. This function currently returns nothing. So if it's the target, then it's going to be true or false? True, yeah? So I'll return 1. And otherwise, I'll return 0. Okay, so if the sum is equal to target, I'll return 1 to symbolize that it's true. And otherwise, I'll return 0 to symbolize that it's false. Okay, great. Now, see, that's why comments were useful. Now, where did I call it from? Okay, I've summed it. So here I want to check. Somewhere here I'll want to be able to check if this is equal to 1, if it's true or not. Okay, so how will I do it? What do we think? Will I do it with an if statement? Will I do it with a loop? Will I do it, I don't know. Hey? No, no more functions. Yeah.
Like if win check.
Yeah. Okay, so if win check, then I will printf you win. Otherwise, I'll printf you lose. Okay, great. So let's now what do we need to do? We need to do a prototype for this function. So one more prototype up the top here. And let's see if it works. Okay, so what does this warning mean? Hey? Sorry, I didn't hear you.
You haven't defined what win check should be to trigger the if function.
Okay. Okay. And so how will I do that?
If win check equals 1.
And do I need to do that? Or do you think something else is missing here? Yeah. So it's a function, but I haven't actually, I've used it as a variable in this case. And it's not a variable, it's a function, which means that it needs some brackets and it needs something to be called with. And in this case, it was missing the sum that I'm calling it with. Okay, Let's run it again. And let's see what it does now. Okay, so that's working. Okay, amazing. Can we poll how do we feel about functions? Pardon? Oh, thank you. I can't hear very, you know, Henry can't see very well. Well, I can't hear very well, so together we make someone that can see well and hear well. It's amazing, you know. Can I show the win check function again? I sure can. Aww, 20% is very lost. I'd like to make that into functions. I want to know what they're lost on. Give me another poll within the poll. Someone wants to know where I called it. I called it in here, which was such a mean move to do, because I called it, and remember when I call a function, a return comes back. So basically I expect this thing here to be a return. So after it's called it, this win check sum, what's going to happen, it's going to return either a 1 or a 0. So what will happen is when it returns, that 1 or 0 will go inside this bracket. So that becomes if 1, then it will go into the printf you win, else if that's if 0. So that's how that works. Yeah.
For the win check, what if you wanted like an else statement there? If it's like the sum is less than the target number, then you say it's too little, or if it's greater than the target number, you say it's too much.
You could do that, and then,
You assign the numbers and call it.
well, it will be a different function in this case, because then you're printing out, oh, it's a little bit less or it's a bit more. But you could return like 2 if it's less, and then if it's else if 2, then but that's messy. That's actually not good decomposing of functions. Even here, it's starting to get messy, but yeah. Yeah. So you could just have the like variable is equal to, and then make it any value you want kind of thing. But the 1 or 0 is the way that you can do what I just did there, where it's just on autopilot, like if true. Sorry? For, in our instance, let's say it only works with 1 or 0. I'm trying to keep it really simple, so sometimes I will just tell you, just wait till week 9, or wait till week 10, or wait till 1521. Otherwise, it's a disaster of me doing pointer arithmetic, which we don't want. Okay. Oh, you did another poll within a poll. Thank you. Thank you.
Once you did one, you quickly walk through how to do a function again.
Okay. I feel like I've exhausted this, though. Oh, you're about to get one of these on-the-run examples. I'm sorry in advance.
Well, we've got poll says that people are confused on how to actually write the functions out.
Okay. Oh, God. Formulas. Oh, I hate myself. Maths formulas. Maths formulas. Oh, I hate myself so much for that. Ah! All right, let's do it all the way from the start because I think people are confused about writing a function to start with. So we're going to do one all the way from the start. This is gonna test me as well. Now I'm like, which maths formulas do I still remember? Okay, so first things first. How amazing! We're going to hash include standard input output library. I know it's so exciting. There is nothing more exciting. I saw someone's already discovered that I don't do a space between a bracket and a curly brace. Well done, good pickup. You will really, it just hurts my brain to do a space. Don't do as I do. No, yes, do as I say. There you go. Okay, let's do area of a rectangle. Circle, all right, let's do a circle. Oh, okay, because then we can hash define a pi. Okay, so we're going to do area of a circle as a function over here. And then I'm going to do something else. So I'm going to create a function to calculate the area of a circle with really good spelling. And to do that, I need to hash define pi and... Hey? Oh, I'm like, okay, I'm like, that was correct, right? So I've slept 5 hours in like the last 48. That could be wrong. Okay, excellent. So let's do a function to calculate the area of a circle. So if I'm doing a function, I'm going to have, it's such a good location to put this lecture theatre right outside the bathrooms. It's amazing. Okay, what would be the input? Now, no one here is allowed to say anything because you guys seem to understand functions. Elsewhere, what would be the input into a function if I was trying to calculate the area of a circle? What would I need to give it? Just normally, if I was calculating an area of a circle, what do I need? I need a radius. So I need a radius. Do I need anything else? I don't know. What's an area of a circle? No. Okay. Yeah, so all I need is pi, which I've made a constant, and I want a radius, which people are saying an int, but a radius could also be, it could be a double. It doesn't have to be an int, yeah? For the simplicity of this, we're going to make it an int, just because to keep it simple for now. Okay, and then this function is to calculate the area of a circle. So that means that I assume that I want this area. So what would be the output of this function? Yeah, it would be the area, yeah? The double. Okay, so it would be the area, and I'm going to say it's a double. And what would be the name of this function that's calculating the area of a circle? It's like pulling teeth out. It's almost, no, it is lunchtime, that's why. Okay, I'm going to call it area circle because amazing, what a name. Okay, so what will I do in here now? So if I have a function, what I have is I do a return type here, then I do the name of the function, and then in brackets I have the inputs into the function. So my return type in this case is a double. So the first thing I do is I'm going to tell that this function is returning a double. So it will come back with a double. Then I'm going to do the name of the function, so area circle, and then in brackets I'll have what the inputs are. And in this case we've said, okay, the radius is going to be an int. So int radius is what I'm giving it. So this is defining a function. So the function is saying it will return a double wherever it was called from. The name of the function that I call it by is area circle, and I'm going to be so nice and give it a radius to do some calculations with. Okay, again, this is going to be a one-line situation here because I can just return a calculation. And how do I calculate the area of a circle? Bella knows that I'm just testing myself at the same time. Oh my God, does anyone know how to calculate area of a circle? Oh, I knew it. You guys have just done the HSC. It should all be so fresh. Okay, so pi r squared. I want to take my pi and I want to multiply it by the radius. Oh, that's ugly. Let's not forget some style, which we will not have time to cover. Is that right? Yeah, I like brackets too. They are really nice. Say it again.
Did you include the math library?
I didn't because I don't want to. It would give me the proper value of pi and I don't want to. I wanted to hash define a pi to show a hash define. But you can include the math library, but we're not up to the math library yet. We're just keeping it simple for this. But there is a pi in the math library amongst other things. Okay, so pi times radius, which is just amazing. Okay, so over here, I want to now call that function. So I want to call that function, or I want to print out the result of that function. So I'm going to printf God. Okay, so I'm saying the area of a circle of radius blah is blah. And the radius, someone give me a number for a radius. 3. Amazing. Okay, so we're going to have the radius is 3. I really didn't need to hard code that in unless I take a radius. Okay, we're going to say radius 3 is blah, and I'm going to call my function now. So to call the function, I'm going to call it by its name, area circle. So area circle, and because it's a function, I'm going to do the little brackets because we love brackets. And because we love brackets and Sophie loves brackets, I'm going to put some brackets here because also it looks a lot nicer, but we don't want to be vain, just want to keep it functional. Okay, so area circle, and we're going to give it that radius of 3, okay? Because area circle expects an int, and I've given it an int. Okay, let's try running it now. So DCC. I have not done a prototype. Nope, good. Okay, semicolon, great. Things are going so well. Everyone's hungry, including me. And let's run it now. Oh, amazing. So it's calculating it. It's doing the call. Okay, what an amazing thing a function is. How can we poll now? How does it feel after that? For the return, do we only... No, we can return whatever we want, not just numbers. We can return doubles, we can return chars, we can return a whole bunch of things, not arrays. But you don't know about the existence of arrays yet, so that shouldn't bother you until tomorrow. How are we feeling? We feeling okay? Oh, yeah, okay. Well, I mean, there's people in the theatre that could just say how they're feeling. It's true, it's true. I like a good poll. And don't worry, it's not like your practice is going to end now. There's going to be lots of functions. Well, not tomorrow, because tomorrow we're doing a whole new topic. Week 3 is where it starts to really ramp up. And week 4 is where it goes even more uphill. Just overall at university, yeah. All right, I feel like that's looking okay. It's because, Bella, you didn't give it like a bad option. You led that question. No, Sophie. Yeah, but that's not like I do not get it. It's fine. Yeah, you got to give it like I don't get anything at all. Okay. All right, so for the last like 10, 15 minutes, we're going to talk a little bit about style, which is a lot more less cooked. Who's cooked? Anyone cooked? Excellent. A few people cooked in here. Probably we're not done yet. Oh my God. Hope you were not doing this for Henry. See you next week. I'm not offended. It's not me. I'm not taking it personally. You'll get used to this vibe. All right. Sophie, what a great answer in that chat. that was.
I was like, do I write a paragraph or a short?
I think you need a 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, so code. I was so impressed that some of you in week 3 were already pointing out things that I am writing not neatly in my code. I would have hated for you to review my code when I was working in industry. But when I was working in industry, there was a lot of messy code. Okay, so code. We want to write nice code. We really, really do. Because when you go back to your own code, you want to be able to know what the heck you were writing about, or what you meant, or what was going on, or what is happening. So the code that you write is for human eyes. Because a machine doesn't care how pretty your code is, it can still read it. But a human that's looking at your code needs to be able to understand what your code is doing, maybe fix mistakes, maybe add functions to it, maybe do other things to the code. So they need to know what on earth is happening. Does style matter in your final exam? It does not. But as I always say, if I cannot read what you have written because your style is so bad, then your manual marking is not going to be pretty because I can't read what you're writing. So we want to make our code easy to understand, we want to make it easy to read, and we want to keep it neat. And it's much easier to debug code that is written neatly versus code that's kind of all in one line, not indented, the variables make no sense, makes it very difficult to debug code that makes no sense. So what are some things that you will need to consider, and some things that will count in your assignment and that we will look at in the marking of your assignment? So there'll be indentation and bracketing. So you will need to have properly indented your code, each set of curly brackets, another indent. Then the way you name your variables and the way you name your functions, it has to make sense. It can't just be A, B, C, D, E, F, G, X, Y, Z, unless, int X, int Y, and you're using it for a specific thing. Otherwise, it has to be a variable that actually makes sense. The way you structure your code. So one of the reasons that we use functions is to remove nesting and repetition. And that's going to be something that you'll see a lot. When you run a style checker on your assignment, it might tell you that you've got too much going on. You need to move some of your repetition into functions to stop that, because then all you do is you call that function and you don't need to repeat a certain chunk of code. Comments, where comments need to be, You don't need to say this is a variable x. It should be obvious from what you've written. And we want consistent code. So when a human reads your code or when I read your code, I want to be able to know what that code is doing without having to spend hours trying to understand what it's doing. And your code should kind of be able to tell a story. As the functions that you're calling, the names that you're using, I should be able to know what's going on in the code based on that alone. Okay, so I did do the same thing that we did today, but I did it without indentation, all in one main. And that's what it looks. Oh, I thought you were like, no, you can't see it. There's brackets though, Sophie. There's brackets.
You've made your point very effectively.
Well, maybe to you, but apparently to no one else. Everyone else is just like chilling.
Wait, could you also explain nesting?
Hey?
As well.
Nesting. Okay. Sure, but I'm going to run out of time. And nesting will be excellent tomorrow with arrays, because that's going to be nesting upon nesting. So this over here, in comparison, no, not to that, to this over here, which code would you like to read and understand? They're doing the same thing. Mind you, this code compiles as well, so it's not like it's not going to run. So if I compile this code, it's going to compile no problem. So it is working code, but can you understand it? You can. If you try hard enough. So something like this on line 2, just starting from the very start, define T7. Can you only know what it's doing because you've seen define target as something else? Because what's T? Why the heck is, what's T doing there? What does T mean? You can kind of tell, but not like, it's not pretty. It will take you a lot longer to understand what's happening here versus what's happening in a piece of code that has good variables names, some space. So if you do your assignment like this, you're 20 marks down, just without any functionality. If you do your assignment like this, you're 20 marks up, well, minus the comments. That's gonna remove a mark or two for those in-text comments. So, okay. Okay, you're not shocked. You're not surprised. Okay, so we have a style guide, okay? Often different organizations you work for will also have their own style guides. And that is why I still write code somewhat differently, because I'm so used to writing it in a different way from places that I've worked at. And you can run our style guide. I've given a link in here to see what the different options are and how you should style your code. Now, every year without fail, every term without fail, we have people complaining about the style guide because they want to do something that the style guide does not allow. So the style guide is not there to kind of limit you, well, a little bit to limit you in this course alone, right? The point of it is 1511 is for beginners, which means that we want to limit some of the more complex things that you're doing and make you do code in a much simpler way, because we're trying to make you learn certain skills and for everyone to be on an equal footing. So please follow the style guide. We know that some things in it are not great if you've been coding for a while and you want to do things differently, but just like in the workplace, sometimes you just have to follow the rules. So just follow it for 10 weeks and then you're free to a different style guide and a different course. So you're kind of free, but it gets better. Okay, I don't know if Henry did the shorthands. Did he do the shorthand? A little bit? Maybe? Did the three of you sleep in the lectures? Okay. You talked about this? Oh, okay, excellent. Oh, Sophie, I'm impressed. You were awake. Okay, and that's because tomorrow I'm going to be using shorthand. So you can increment by 1 by just doing plus plus. So you can do count is equal to count plus 1, or you can just do count plus plus. And the same way with decrementing, you can decrement by doing minus minus. And what it does is it minuses 1 and it assigns to the count the new value. So increment by 5, I can just do count plus equal to 5. Same with decrementing and multiplying. So these shorthands allow us ways to make our code neater, smaller, and to write faster. And you will see that used tomorrow in the lecture. Okay, and did Henry do return of scanf? What scanf returns?
He kind of skipped past the slide, and I was like, it needs to be covered, so it would be good to cover it.
Such a sad face. Okay, so scanf. You saw that scanf takes something from the terminal and it puts it into an address of a variable, so you're able to take input from the terminal. Now scanf also returns something, and up to this point all you've been doing is you've been like, because you've just been using scanf and the input, so that means the output of that scanf has been going out into the clouds. You're not saving it, you're not looking for it. So it will come to a point tomorrow where you might want to see what scanf has returned. And what scanf returns is the number of things that it has scanned in successfully. Okay, so that is very useful for doing some error checking when we're writing our programs. So if I'm returning an int over here, I want to know that one thing got scanned in successfully. And that means that something got placed into number before an error has occurred. So I can check whether or not that scanf return has returned something. So this is a long way to do it, and I'm trying to demonstrate what it's doing. So scanf returns an item, an int, and what I've done is I've assigned that to a variable scanf return here. And then I can check in an if statement whether or not what it has returned. So if it's equal to 1, that means that I've scanned in something successfully, and that's my error checking done. But I can also just check for it without having 3 lines of code, and you will see me doing it in action, which will make it much easier to understand. For now, for today, since you're all cooked, just remember that scanf returns the number of things that it has scanned in successfully, and it allows you to error check. And then the first thing I'll do tomorrow is I'll error check with a scanf before we go into arrays. Okay, I think we're done. I think everyone's done. Thank you, everyone. See you tomorrow. Oh, so silent, and suddenly there's clapping. Link. Oh, you've already finished. Can you just, thank you so much. And you can tell me I've gone too fast, too slow. I need to repeat something. It's completely anonymous. I don't care who you are. I just want to know what you know or don't know.